Don't know. I feel like I need to yap about these spoilers. What's up, guys? I'll go Pencil here, and here we are to do a breakdown / spoiler discussion of chapter 258 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as, someone corrected me in the short one, I think it's 30. Is it 30? What? There was one of them. Gosh darn it. I feel like I should have this memorized. I literally make a joke about how Gege never changes the chapter title name, even after multiple different battles have happened, but I consistently tend to forget what the length, where are we at? Gosh darn, I saw someone correct me. What is it? Is it like 30? Part 30. It's part 30. Okay. Here we are to do a breakdown for part 30 of the Shinjuku Showdown. The decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku, part 30. And we got a whole lot to talk about. I got some better translations. Thanks for everyone who commented on the short-form spoiler discussion. So when I get into this more long-term yapper discussion, I have a lot more context, a lot more information. I am still missing images, though, because I'm scared and I can't find them. But with that being the case, I do have context for certain images. I do know more things. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into it. Editing me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a come here pencils here, and I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact: Sukuna. So, bunch of different crazy diabolical things. Obviously, the big heavy hitters. If you hadn't seen it already, I'm here to show you. Yeah, Sukuna, wow. Bro really said, man, the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time was so nice, I had to do it. Pice? Pentice? What is 5 times? Because I know there's once, twice, thrice. I don't think twice is even a thing. I don't think there is a penta. Regardless, this is his 5th domain of the day, I do believe. I think this is number 5. Because I think he did 4 against Gojo. He did the initial one, shattered Gojo's. Then Gojo did another one, which also shattered Sukuna's first one. Then domain broke after the first... No, it didn't. I don't think... Is this either 3 or 4? Essentially, Sukuna activates domain extension again. I've seen a bunch of people losing their good minds over this. And considering this is kind of the focal point of the chapter, I will touch on it in a bit. First thing I want to make a correction on... Where is it? Where are you? Don't you hide from me? Right here. When I tell y'all, I am far from the sharpest spoon in the kitchen chef. I need y'all to know. I'm basically blind, illiterate, and can't read. I know illiterate and can't read literally mean the same thing, but hear me out. I did not even think about the fact that Yuji just uppercutted Sukuna that far. I think the main thing that threw me off is that, like, he's up here standing all chill-like. Like, bro didn't just get backshotted to oblivion. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, admittedly, I haven't seen someone get an uppercut backshot before. That's a wombo combo of things I just never seen. But, I don't know. I feel like after a Black Flash uppercut backshot, you wouldn't just be... Like, bro's really hitting the... Is that all you got, kid? After doing all that? After going through all that? So that's first things first. Sukuna's on a higher level because Yuji just... Like I said, not the sharp spoon in the kitchen shed. I just thought Yuji blitzed. Or got blitzed. But, hey... No Yuji blitz. Fantastic. Yuji, every single Yuji investor, every single Yuji yucker, an Itadori investor, if you will. I know y'all are sliding racks up, like legitimately. And here's the thing, I was an Itadori investor. You can go back. I got my stocks in there. But I lost so much from my Gojo stocks that realistically, I'm still in the deficit. But with that being the case, I know every Yuji Itadori fan is itching, scratching, and feeding even more after this chapter. Because we do get to see that... While Itadori Yuji, he did, knock Sukuna up. I mean, that's not wrong. He did knock Sukuna up. And technically, Sukuna is pregnant. Does the merger count? Would that count as a baby? But, like, who's the father? Because, like, Kenjaku... But then again, technically, since the merger is Tengen, and Tengen seemingly is older than Kenjaku and definitely Sukuna, is it, like... We're kind of running into a Fire Emblem 3 Houses scenario here. But not really, though. I mean, I guess in a way. Because, like, spoilers for Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That game is, like, is it, like, 5 years old? That game's really old. Well, not really old. I can't say it's really old, or else I'm going to have to start having an existential crisis. But, like, there's a scenario in that game where a character kind of gives birth to a character that should predate that character timeline-wise, and it's weird, just like this case right here. Technically, it's very easy to forget, considering he's been stabbed through the heart, has his arms torn off, is getting beaten to oblivion, and has his soul shaken up. But, yeah, Sukuna's kind of preggers. He does have a baby on the way. Think about it. Think about this. Every single Yuji yucker out there, every single Itadori investor, you're really supporting a man who's beating up on a pregnant man. He's beating up on an expecting individual. That's crazy. Me personally, of course, I love Yuji do it. But with that being the case, I kind of do genuinely wonder, are we gonna tackle that? Like, notably, the merger, ever since it got confirmed to be transferred over to Sukuna, has kind of, like, slid under the radar. Like, just deeply under the radar. Like, we don't even seem to be addressing it anymore. Like, no characters actually really acknowledged it since Kusakabe did. And, like, what? That was right after the Kinjaku incident. So, like, maybe to be fair, it hasn't been too long. It's only been about, like, 10 chapters. But still, in our time, it's been a pretty hot minute since the merger's been addressed. But yeah, Sukuna does escape Yuji, and Yuji he's striking in the pose. One motif that I do like that seems to get carried on in this chapter, at least in terms of the modern day fight, Yuji has yet to say a single word. Like, ever since he started running ones with Sukuna, bro locked in, and he's just been there. Flatline. There's not a single bit of cognition going on in his head. The only thing he has is Street Fighter combos, Fighters combos, Tekken combos for all my crazy people out there. Like, legitimately, he's just punch, kick, punch, kick, punch, kick. One thing I'll admit, it's working. It's working a whole lot, and we see that Miguel and LaRue do manage to escape. I'm assuming this is through Oi, considering how far away they are from the battlefield. So unless Miguel, like, picked up LaRue over his shoulder and was like... I'm assuming they got decently far away, but naturally, Ryomen Sukuna says he's not going to slide for this anymore, and he activates a domain expansion. Now, there's been a bunch, and I mean a bunch, and I mean a bunch, and can I find it? I know you're here. You cannot hide from me. I know you're a spread. How do I keep missing? Did I glaze? No. Where are you? Don't hide from. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, there we go. Jeez, I don't know why it was hiding from me, but this thing. Bigger than a snicker type beat right here is something else. Now, apparently this is just Malevolent Shrine. There were a whole bunch of mistranslations going around about apparently this is a fusion between like Chimera Shadow Guard and Malevolent Shrine. And here's the thing, on a visual aspect, I don't actually blame anybody for believing that, because like when you look at it, none of what Sukuna's technique has previously implies this. We've seen Malevolent Shrine. We've seen Malevolent Shrine under the process of being destroyed. We've seen Malevolent Shrine in the midst of its proper activation, all that. We've seen a bunch of Malevolent Shrines, but none of them look like this, and this does even seem to have aspects of not necessarily Megami Shikigami, but it does have aspects of Chimera Shadow Garden, specifically in the ribcage aspect, which is very similar to the vertebrae that we see Megami kind of spawning in his domain, in terms of the most recent time we saw it, which it's crazy to say recent, considering that's, I think, nearly 100 chapters ago at this point. But still, the last time we saw Megami's domain, it did actually have like a sort of rib cage or at least vertebrae aspect to it, the tiny bit of what looked like a skeleton in Megami's domain. That did appear there, and I can definitely get, well, this motif looks a lot more like creature and chimera-esque, highly considering, a Chimera Shadow Garden. No, that's not necessarily the case. Apparently, according to the rough translations that I got, this is just Malevolent Shrine. But apparently it's Malevolent Shrine in a very, 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 very cobbled together state. A bunch of people, and I don't blame them, at first, a bunch of people went absolutely buku bonkers that this dropped. That Ryomen Sukuna, after receiving not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7. Yes, I think it was also confirmed in the spoilers. Feel free to correct me, because once again, I don't know until the translations come out. But I believe it was stated Yuji landed 7 Black Flashes. 7 of them, not 8, which does retroactively confirm that one questionable Black Flash from 258 that looked like it could have been Sukuna's fist was actually Sukuna. So I think he's at 4, because the first one against Maki, second one against LaRue, third one against... Oh no, he may be at 5? If that 7 thing is the proper translation. If it ends up being 8 in the real translation, then no, that Black Flash was still Yuji shoulder checking. But Sukuna should be on 5. But then again, I think it's mentioned that Sukuna hit 4, so I'm not sure. Now I'm a little bit confused. I'm going to have to reread 258. I still need to make the full-length review for 258. But with that being the case, this being here comes with a whole bunch of caveats. And I'll admit, there is one thing I do wish we would see, and it's one thing that I will let slide, because I do think Binding Vows have been left vague enough that Gege can kind of use what Gege has been using for Sukuna for a while now, which is the factor of the unknown, the fact that we just don't know everything about how the series functions. I wish we could have seen Sukuna making these Binding Vows. or like considering them or thinking of them. We've gotten in Sukuna's head before. So the fact that we don't necessarily get to see it is kind of iffy, but at the same time, we do get the caveats laid out, I believe, here. This whole page is meant to lay out the caveats of this Malevolent Shrine, this incomplete Malevolent Shrine. One thing I will admit, though, it's insane that Sukuna is able to still make it barrierless. Like, or at least presumably barrierless, based on how it operates. That is still actually genuinely insane. Like, notably, this man is, once again, down 7 black flashes, a whole bunch of regular hits from Yuji, all that, and his still innate function makes the domain barrierless. It's cracked! Like, I get it, you know, it's Roman Sukuna, of course he's cracked. But still, the fact that it's a barrierless domain, absolutely insane. It does sort of knock off a sort of idea that I had that we'll talk about in a bit, but not necessarily, because there's still an opening depending on the range of this domain, and the fact that it only lasts 99 seconds. But that's another one of the caveats here. Sukuna did definitely take damage from these black flashes. He definitely did not do what I thought he did initially, which I thought he just like focused all his RCT on his brain and managed to recover that, and then managed to use his domain expansion, but no, apparently he did really everything in his power to kind of just cheat this one into existence. From skipping over the hand sign, to skipping over any sort of debuff damage he had, anything, he sacked all of that. But one of the caveats that includes is the exact opposite of what I thought. I thought my daughter, Maki, was in extreme danger. I thought she still just could not show up because it's Malevolent Shrine, right? Malevolent Shrine is the one domain, and I say one because I don't think Kenny's confirmed to target inanimate objects. Malevolent Shrine is the one domain in the entire series that will actively target my daughter. Even though she's an inanimate object, even though she's literally a rock, a walking, talking rock that can cut you real good, yeah, Malevolent Shrine can identify that. But notably, apparently it doesn't identify her. That's one of the things. Sukuna could not apply Dismantle appropriately to this domain, which does, in retrospect, and this is weird, I'll admit this is weird, it does make, one, the true Malevolent Shrine more complicated than we thought it was. We thought, and at least I'll say, I'm not going to speak French, I thought Malevolent Shrine just imbued Cleave and Dismantle as a total base. Like, no matter what, Cleave and Dismantle would be built into it, whether it was barrierless or not. No, Dismantle has to be actively applied. So, with that being the case, there's a high likelihood that Yuta would have to pick wisely. If he picks Cleave while fighting Maki or Toji, at best it hit SSK. It's not going to hit them. Of course, once again, that's Yuta, another thing, a character who does not appear this chapter, so we'll talk about him in a bit. I do have some ideas for Yuta in this hypothetical return, though there's another character who I think should have a hypothetical return, probably before even Yuta. But another caveat with this domain is that it only lasts 99 seconds. So thusly, it's still broken, don't get me wrong, but in the page I don't have, we literally see every character named Mama resisting it. Like, and they all use Symbol Domain to do it. Notably, the one aftermath we see, you know, do I talk about Yuji Symbol Domain? I think I'm legally obligated to talk about Yuji Symbol Domain. I think at this point, I think it's in the contract. Is it in the contract? It's in the contract. Okay, we gotta talk about Yuji Symbol Domain. He's now solidly top 10. I know, and you know what? Am I a Yuji down player? Maybe, am I a Yuji down player? Can I seriously name 5 characters who I still think beat Yuji? Now, with it being confirmed that he does have an anti-domain technique, and an anti-domain technique that he learned through Kusakabe, the best Symbol Domain user. Obviously Gojo. Obviously Sukuna. Is it crazy for me to still say Yuta? I don't think it's too crazy. I know Yuji has definitely broken crazy next level techniques, but like, is he really beating that tag team? Like, especially if Yuta pops domain himself, they show relativity in stats. Of course, this is an 8 black flash, or a 7 or 8 black flash amped Yuji. So maybe he just beats the brakes off of Yuta. Maybe he runs into a Kashimo scenario where maybe Yuji could beat the brakes off of Yuta before Yuta could hypothetically pop domain. I guess, maybe. But still, I want to put Yuta above. I do think if he domains, that's a GG. That's a solid GG, no matter what. He would have to put on a useless sure hit to not beat Yuji. Because even with Yuji sitting in Symbol Domain, like, we don't get to see how high his Symbol Domain is, because it really pretty quickly gets, torn to ribbons. But with this Symbol Domain, and obviously, Symbol Domain very specifically being weak to domain techniques, which is crazy to think. It's an anti-domain counter, but at least for the both of the open barrier domains we've seen, yeah, the Symbol Domain doesn't work all too well, even with someone of Yuji's caliber off 8 black flashes in a super nerf Sukuna. Though admittedly, I believe it's stated that the nerfs don't really apply to Sukuna in terms of his output here, which only makes Yuji more impressive, admittedly. But I do think Yuta's still kind of hard counters, bro. The 2v1 there, plus the domain, plus any sort of short hit that he wants with it. He could just make it cleave. Yuji would be able to fall to that eventually. He could just make it Angel's Jacob's Ladder. I think Yuji would still fall to that. Especially considering he is kind of an evil spirit now, considering he's so deeply steeped in Sukuna's cursed energy. So he probably would start to get atomized by that. So I still think Yuta's above. Obviously with Sukuna and Gojo. Kenny's a weird one. Because he should get blitzed, right? Like, if you take the Yuta feat at face value and don't question it at all, Yuji shows relativity and speed while fatigued to a domain Yuta. Not a base Yuta. So, like, realistically, you can definitely make the argument. But if you don't take that feat as valid, then it's kind of hard to get Yuji above, because once again, we know that his symbol domain wouldn't be too effective against Kenjaku's open barrier domain, and as much as I love Yuji, I still think he probably is a cursed spirit manipulation slam victim. I'm just thinking off the top of my dome, like, what does he really do against certain combos? If Kenny's able to react fast enough. It really depends. Kenny scaling is weird. It's weird. It's weird. Like, once again, with that, if you take the Yuta feat as valid, then Yuji's kind of cooked. Or no, Kenny's kind of cooked by Yuji, considering the speed gap that would exist, and obviously, Yuji would definitely be able to soul punch the life out of their mama. But if you don't take that feat, and you go with the idea that Kenny's still a Yuta tier threat, with an open barrier domain, that you can still give that to Kenny. So that's a 50-50. So we'll say 4 once again, because I'm trying to just find 5 characters. And then Mythical Phantom Beast and Kashimo. Notably, I still think that's a bad matchup for Yuji. Once again, because of the speed disparity. While I think Yuji's fantastic, amazing, next level, and it's clearly shown relativity to Sukuna, and obviously has been able to show hand-to-hand feats relative to Sukuna in terms of combat speed, that is a super weakened Sukuna. Admittedly by Yuji's own doing. But I think if we look at which Sukunas they both fought, a completely freshly incarnated Sukuna versus a Sukuna that is more playful and messing around and still is slowly but surely a bit more fatigued, I don't know. I want to still give that to Kashimo. Because, like, while it's confirmed that Yuji has really, really good RCT, because it's not fully RCT, it's a little something special, I'm still not fully convinced that he's eating a lightning bolt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think his RCT is that good. Like, we know it's still not that top tier. So if he gets bolted, what's he supposed to do? Is he really dodging them light beams? If Kashimo hits him with a 1-2 piece combo and bolts him, he can't incarnate to recover that damage off. He has to heal it. And then by the time he's healing, he's getting triple piece comboed again. So I think Kashimo could be another. Though admittedly, I think Ryu's kind of just out the door. At least the Ryu as we know him, maybe original Ryu, because notably their output should be the same. But with his susceptibility to Yuji's soul punches, and presumably if you just make the logical interpretation that, oh, Yuji likely does have new shadow style, mink, based on the fact that he swaps souls with Kusakabe, something we'll cover in a little bit, then you can definitely make arguments that Ryu, even despite his durability, which kind of just gets soul janked. So that could be bad. Uro can still kind of camp Yuji out, because once again, he's yet to show any real range, but, like, that's more a stalemate. And we don't know enough about Uro's domain to really give her any credit. Maki and Toji. I'm still... Maki, Toji, so, like, the question really is Yuji hitting harder than a Sukuna Black Flash? Or is he hitting hard enough to take Maki out in one hit? And is he hitting Maki? And by proxy, Toji. That's the 50. If you think that he is, then he wins, right? Because he would just be able to hit them much. And their healing factor isn't as good as his, so bada bing, bada boom. But if they land a hit with SSK, what's Yuji doing? If they're even relative, what is Yuji really doing? Because once again, we go into the variations of Sukuna. Don't get me wrong, Yuji shows relativity to a stronger Sukuna, but not really. He kind of gets backpacked by whoever he's fighting with, and or Sukuna ignoring him explicitly. And then by the time he actually gets to run ones, it's once again a heartless, one-armed, super fatigued, admittedly couple Black Flash Sukuna. But the Black Flashes keep getting negated by Yuji's own hits, so I'm not sure. The Maki Meat Muncher in me wants to say that Maki still wins. Like, once again, we don't really get to see Yuji react to dismantles in the same way that Maki does. So, like, and Maki reacts to a full chant dismantle. I don't think it's a World Slash anymore, but I do think she does react to a full chant dismantle. One that was being hidden from her. But what's from a longer range, though? But then again, we get to see her block and react to shorter range. I don't know. It's 50-50, but I'll let the Yuji agenda in me win this one. I'll let the Yuji agenda in me win this one. Notably, I think it's a coin toss. I think you kind of really got to get into the interpretations down deep in the dirt and how much of a stat increase did Yuji get? Is he now faster than Dismantles, essentially? If you can argue he's faster than Dismantles, then he can presumably hit Maki. And then if he hits Maki enough, Maki goes down. But I still think Maki, she kind of just has that speed scaling. And SSK, Yuji does not have an answer for that. And once again, he's lacking the range. But, 50-50. And then Toji by proc. Once again, I'm definitely fully in the camp that Maki didn't really get stronger. She just got better with her skills. But I still think, ultimately, Toji can kind of do everything that she does because of how heavily restrictions work. Once again, it's another video for another time. I'll go more in depth. So y'all can yell at me about that, but 50-50. But I think I do have the 5, though. I do have the 5. It's pretty much impossible to kick Yuji at a top 10 now. Like now, any sort of people who still had Yuji versus current Mahito or current Yuji versus Mahito as a debate, end it. Cliff it. It's done now. He has Symbol Domain. Anyone who still had Jogo versus Yuji as a debate, cliff it. End it right now. He has Symbol Domain. And like, also just the raw power. And probably at this point the speed. So, the Disaster Curse is absolutely violated by Yuji alone. At this point, I think that's pretty darn obvious. And then who else? Once again, I do think now he beats Ryu. We just don't know enough about Ryu's sure hit of his domain expansion. It's probably violent. There's no reason it shouldn't be violent. And who knows? It's the highest output. It may be able to crack Yuji's domain. Still, we don't know. And I'll give credit because current Ryu, or the Ryu as we know him, does have that soul weakness, and Yuji would absolutely make him. Earl, once again, it's a matchup thing, but I still could see definitely Yuji eking out a dub somehow. If he lands the hits. The question is, can he land the hits? Is the speed gap enough that he can land the hits? Probably. So, you can't really say Earl. Yorozu's weird. Is Symbol Domain defending against... I'm sorry, I'll make a whole video talking about that separately. I'm sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I still don't think he's top 5. I still think you have Sukuna, you have Gojo, you have Kenny with the barrierless domain, you have Yuta with his domain, you have Mythical Phantom Beast Amber Kashimo with his speed gap and his lethal one-shot abilities, you hypothetically still have Maki and Toji with the reaction speed feats. Like, I still think that he's not top 5, but I think he's solidly locked top 10. I think there's no one except for Gojo and Sukuna in the back half of the series that's dealing with Yuji. You could arguably sick the whole back half of the series on Yuji at once at this point, and he's clearly slamming them. But of course, if you still think I'm downplaying Yuji, I don't blame you. To give it here, and let me do the opposite real quick. Let me slap this man off to the moon. Because what this chapter does confirm, and it sort of explains certain things, the reason that Yuji has basically had infinite cursed energy, endless stamina, basically been unstoppable, spamming RCT, cursed techniques, soul punches, taking damage like crazy, all that, he, by consuming his siblings, got the properties of his siblings, and by proxy Choso. Meaning that he doesn't actually need to use RCT in the same way that the other characters do. Like Shoko does, like Yuta does, like Sukuna does. He doesn't have to. He can just turn his cursed energy into blood. And since he can turn his cursed energy into blood, that means he can just regenerate a whole lot easier. It's why, later on in the chapter, we see his body truly is fundamentally changed. He's a really tainted vessel, because the moment his leg gets lopped off, he immediately just uses the blood that's connecting his leg, and then reattaches it, locks it right back on. So, like, he's good. Essentially, now, if a character matchup in JJK ever came down to who can out-stamina the other, it's Yuji. It's probably you. Like, notably, if their stats are comparable, and one can't do lethal damage to the other, if we're talking straight stamina, and they both have a healing factor, Yuji's likely up there. Bro's healing factor is crazy, because he doesn't have to use RCT, he can just reconnect and control his body with blood manipulation, and replenish his blood with cursed energy. So very, very, very good stuff for Yuji. A lot of nice confirmations. Another nice little simple and clean, when you walk away, you don't hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. I want to let it go. Hold me. Where is the panel I'm looking for? Where are you? Okay, I cannot find the specific panel I was looking for. Oh, there, here it is. So essentially, Ui reveals that through some mystical, magical manner of RCT, the thing that Yuji doesn't need to use, but he's able to use if he needs to, you know what I'm saying? He can do a soul swapping technique. We're finally getting it hard talked about. Obviously, this has been established since like 220? 222. I think it may be 222. The idea that Yuji can swap souls has kind of just been shown to us for the longest time. Kind of like, essentially, it's like a longer run game of Yuji having blood manipulation. Where a lot of people clocked Yuji had blood manipulation pretty quickly. Myself included a little bit. I was slow, though. I did not catch up or catch on as quickly as other people did. But Yuji does have a soul swapping technique. Weird thing is, though, he can only use it twice a month. Or at least once again from the Rush translation. I'm not sure why, though. I don't think there's any like specific criteria given why. Maybe it's like a soul identity thing. Like maybe if he spends too long in another body, he would like fully take it over or be unable to switch back or something. They just got to be some sort of extra criteria on top of that. Because otherwise, I kind of don't get it. Like, what do you mean you can't just spam that? And of course, the natural question becomes, why didn't he use it on Sukuna? Like, I mean, I guess leaving Sukuna in Yuji's body is still a bad thing if they just straight up swap souls. But, like, nah, that's kind of just it. So I can, you know what, never mind. I asked the question and immediately rationalized it. Giving Sukuna Yuji's body would still not be good. Especially a post-liberate, like, unless we really go with the whole Nine Tails idea, where base Yuji was actually being held back by containing Sukuna. Like, on a Naruto and Kakashi training for the Rasen Shuriken type beat, where Kakashi's like, hey, bro, I'll be real, you got 4 times the chakra as me. And Naruto's like, what? Kakashi-sensei, what do you mean I got 4 times the chakra as you? And then Kakashi in his head is like, and yeah, BT dubs, if you weren't holding back the Nine Tails, you literally have 100 times the chakra. So maybe that's it? Maybe that's it for Yuji, where just by being fused with Sukuna, like, his own innate potential drops massively. But, hey, I hate to be the one to say it, 15-finger Sukuna is still probably the 3rd strongest character in the verse, if still not number 1. Like, obviously 20-finger Sukuna, but like, it's not like, especially if you don't believe in finger scaling, which I think is getting harder and harder to do by the day, but like, if you just think the fingers give more cursed energy, like, he's still just gonna beat anyone who he runs into. Because all of his stats are the same. He just has less cursed energy. And we know by the time of the Yuta fight, he's only down to half. And sure, 20 fingers, half, 15. So, what kind of math was that? 20 fingers of cursed energy, half that, 10 fingers. So, he would be at 5 fingers amount of cursed energy now, at this point, or lesser, considering he's likely lesser than 10 finger now. But he still beat the major people he needs to beat, and will probably take the battle a bit more seriously. But 15 fingers are going to still undeniably uncontested. So if you give him Yuji's body, and he's able to still express aspects of his soul, such as his curse technique, his physical ability, all that, yeah, the whole cast is still cooked. So I can understand why they don't have Yuji use it. That does sort of create an interesting phenomena, though, and I still think this opens the door to maybe not Megami, or no, there we go, but maybe not Yuji switching souls to Sukuna, but Yuji switching souls with Megami, and essentially forcing Sukuna into a rematch, essentially, of their battle all the way back from like chapter 9 or 10, when Yuji first had his heart. In that case, I could see the soul technique having some use. Because apparently, in the time skip, what they mainly used it for was to get Itadori Yuji valuable abilities. Hakari himself was like, hey, yo, I'll be real with y'all. Y'all really need some anti-domain techniques or domain of your own. I'll be completely honest with y'all. And honestly, what y'all really need is that RC Tizzle. And that's a whole bit of the pot calling the kettle black. Hakari. Unless I'm mistaken, you can't use RC Tizzle. You and Jackpot do it automatically, but that doesn't count. That's like saying, well, no, it's different, because breathing is breathing. But, like, what's an equal comparison? It's hard to think of an equal comparison because of how unique the power mechanic is. But, like, essentially, Hakari, you don't know how to use RCT either, Bucky. Your body does. You filthy, sly little cheater. In fact, come back to me, Hakari, come back to me, when you can fire cursed energy. Like Yuta and Ryu can. Infinite cursed energy and what? Still no range? Still no fancy abilities? Still no nothing. I can't say no maidens. You got Kirara. But would that being the case, Yuji essentially swapped with Kusakabe to get Symbol Domain to the same level of Kusakabe? I don't know. I don't think so, notably. But then again, someone did bring this up to me, the perfect point. They did that, well, yeah, sure, maybe Yuji did just have a generic Symbol Domain. That's fine. The thing is, though, he was quite a far bit away from Sukuna And in order for the auto attacks to kick in, he would have had to expand his symbol domain a whole bunch, and that may take a bunch of cursed energy. So I can understand why Yuji ultimately doesn't do it. But I don't know. Someone made from Kusakabe, maybe on Kusakabe's level, that could go crazy. The new Shadow Style on top. But of course, he doesn't have a blade, so I'm not sure how his like Bato sword drawing would work. Would it just be and then he just punches you really hard? I don't know. But another thing that I do like about this chapter in particular is it really gives back into the idea that Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses, truly is a calamity. The moment he activates this pseudo domain, literally everything gets torn apart. It's getting reduced to ash. Look at the birds watching over. They are gonna be thrashed. But yeah, this is big calamitous type beat. Notably, we did get some hints of this in Gojo vs. Sukuna, but like considering the scale of destruction either of those two individuals could have caused the rest of the universe if they really felt like it. You could tell they really weren't moving all too crazy. Sukuna didn't even make his domain 200 meters until he felt like he had to. And even then, he may have not really felt like he had to, if you know what I'm talking about. But with that being the case, golly, he levels the entire area. And with that being set up the way it is, it leads into a scenario where Yuji is, once again, forced to use symbol domain. Symbol domain to simply hold back the overwhelming amount of raw power that Sukuna's just bang, 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 over and over and over again. And once again, Maki's immune. But here's the thing, though. We specifically go out of our way to establish that Maki's immune this chapter, but then, like, we don't do anything with it. At least not yet. Maybe once again she'll show up soon. But the thing is, in this chapter she showed up with Miwa, who was guarding her from the slashes with a symbol domain. Why? I mean, maybe I guess it's just a risk versus reward gamble thing. Or like, it's a 50-50 on whether or not this will work out in the way it does, but I don't know. Like, Maki, if you're immune, be immune. Like you don't have to like take this opportunity to take his last arm or something. But notably, in the spoiler, she is holding Miwa, and notably, it isn't just Miwa who's there. Choso learned it, Kusakabe learned it. Like everyone has symbol domain now, which is a nice little soft flatline buff. Admittedly, I'll say symbol domain has kind of just never really been effective at what it's supposed to do. Like when you think about it, I'm thinking. Yeah. Like thinking logistically, symbol domain just doesn't really have a use case that's properly shown. It doesn't work fully with Todo. He loses only his hand, but that essentially solders his technique. It doesn't work fully well against Sukuna, obviously, because Sukuna is that much more powerful. It clearly won't work on any character more powerful than the iterations mentioned so far, at least if used by the same. Wow. Is symbol domain really? Because it doesn't work with Yuki. I mean, it barely works with Go. I don't know. Symbol domain kind of chat. Like, don't get me wrong. It led to a cool fight sequence with Kusakabe, but I don't know. Symbol domain may just be booting me. Now that I think about it, because it really doesn't have one successful showing. And once again, we continue this long line of failures here when Yuji gets absolutely torn to ribbons by Sukuna's technique here, which is still absolutely buku bonkers. So buku bonkers, in fact, that I need to take a sip. Did you drink water today? Please do. It's good for the body. But with it being the case, Yuji has his symbol domain absolutely torn to shreds. Once again, we're focusing on this motif of Yuji getting his face torn up as well as the rest of his body. Very specifically the side of his face that Sukuna has the mask on. Daddy Kuna or Unc Kuna, depending on how you prefer it. So, I don't know. We're building to a certain something video on the way once this chapter drops. But, with that being the case, Yuji does get torn through. But if I do have to give Yuji credit, he doesn't actually really go down for all that long. Once again, he does stumble and roll a little bit. He literally loses a whole leg, but he flips into the reattachment, notices that the slashes have stopped happening, and yeah. So Fuga has finally made his appearance. Thank you once again for everyone correcting me. Yeah, so apparently Yuji notices, and I, once again, did not realize how I didn't notice, that, yeah, the slashes have stopped. So, I take back exactly, once again, maybe it's like a preference thing or a disrespect thing, but it, once again, appears that he cannot use, but then again, he has Malevolent Shrine still active, though. Like, I don't think he turns it fully off. But at least the sure hit and the fire arrow cannot coexist. Unless Sukuna, once again, is still holding back. Which is crazy to think about, but honestly, it's Sukuna. I'm not even shocked anymore. But he finally pulls out Fuga. And when I tell you, I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now. I'm so happy. I can't believe it. I can't believe we finally get to see Fuga. Fuga's finally here after so long. It's literally been years. Years since we've seen Fuga. Like legitimately, I think, what, 130? Nah, pre-130s. Because that's the Genjaku fight. Like, what now? It's like 117? When does the Maharaga fight end? That's the last time we've seen Fuga. So to finally get it back, hallelujah, hallelujah. Though, once again, interesting confirmation, and I keep saying it, I say it every single time because Geki's yet to really prove me wrong about it. The more and more we learn about system mechanics or powers in JJK, the more limited they get. Fuga and Shrine cannot coexist. One thing that is crazy though is who, like, is this meant to just be a Yuji wiper? Like, is this just meant to specifically clean his palette or something? Like, I don't get it. Like, bro really said, hold on, I'm going to stop my entire domain expansion. Even though, at least, unless I'm mistaken, the only civil domain we see break in this chapter is very specifically Yuji's. I'm going to turn off my DE and just let it rot like dog. Is he just going to hit Yuji? I don't know. That's going to go crazy. Though, that is a very, very, very chaotic point to leave the chapter on. Like, genuinely top 10 chaotic points of all time to end the chapter on. Because of the implications of this. Obviously, the biggest implication is that Yuji's just going to get lit up. Like, that's the simplest and cleanest way to interpret it. Like, oh no, Yuji, you're about to have your entrails spread across the 9 realms. No, Yuji, clench up, bro, clench up. You can't do this. But, like, he's going to have to deal with it one way or another. However, well, I do think the chapter's gas. I like the new domain design. I like the fact that Yuji got a simple domain. I like the fact that we got the explanation of blood manipulation. And I like all this juicy, wonderful, scrumdiddlyumptious, delicious, tasty, next level stuff. Oh, my toes, they're curling. Akari versus Arume. Okay. I know you're on break next week because of Golden Week. Stop doing that. Stop mewing. Stop letting Akari and Urume have a mew off. I'm sick and tired of it. I need to see this end, gosh darn it. And here's the thing. By confirming this domain is only 99 seconds. Hikari really has only however many seconds are left to cook. Like, I've been waiting for Hikari. And I'm not the only one. I know a lot of fellow Hikari fans have been waiting for Hikari to do something crazy, something cool, something next level. If we're really going to make him a bulk RCT merchant, if we're really going to turn him straight into a Blissey type character, where all he's got is special bulk and infinite recovery, like, if we're really going to do that, if we're going to turn him straight into, like, Gen 6, Gen 7, Gen 8 Blissey, heavy duty boots and all, because he's literally dealing with the ice person, I'm saying, well, no, technically it wouldn't be heavy duty boots. Heavy duty boots scar from entry hazards. Hail isn't an entry hazard. But then again, by Gen 9, hail isn't even a thing anymore. It's snow. But with it being the case, I need Hikari to show up. Like, now. Like, and I need him to eat the fire arrow. Like, literally, tasty. Not like that. But, like, I do need to see Hikari finally make his appearance. I feel like it's been long enough. And here's the thing, right? I'll say this, too. I do like this chapter. I like all the different perspectives we see. I like all the different clarifications we get, all the different explanations we get. I do like it. I really do. My toes, they're curled. They're curled to maximum power right now. I won't even lie to you. I feel them gripping. I'll be ripping through the socks. But big, bodacious kind of booty butt cheeks. The big thing that I think kind of needs to happen before I can convince we're really going to wrap this up is the end of Hikari versus Urume. But I want to see it. Okay, I I'm begging you, do not off-screen either of those characters. Notably, from a story standpoint, I'm still in the camp that somehow Yuji's gonna win. Like, somehow, in spite of getting slashed to oblivion by a whole bunch of cleaves with minimal output reduction, like, in spite of all that, I'm genuinely hoping the cleave man himself, I'm hoping he genuinely gets kind of left behind for a little bit. I do believe that he should win. He will win. That's basically unstoppable. But now the real question is, and the honest question is, when are we going to let him win? Not while Carver versus Urume still fighting. That's like ending another final arc while a side character's fighting instead of the main character. Like, dog, I don't know. I'll be completely real. I do. I'm so torn. Because the thing is, right? I mean, I'm glad this is a Yuji moment. And I do get cutting away from this to do Hikaru versus Urume would be very anticlimactic for a bunch of people. But I still think we gotta wrap that up before we wrap this up. Even if Sukuna isn't the final antagonist, right? Say the final antagonist is the merger we made along the way. Like on some Kenny type beat. I'm still trying to think. Like, I think no matter what, we're just in danger. Like, there's no like logical thought process that goes on here, because since Hikaru versus Urume basically has no narrative stakes, it's kind of just taking off two side characters from the table to make sure they don't interfere in this fight. It also means that it's highly likely that we don't actually get to see the fight, because why bother showing a fight that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things? Gege's cut off much more important fights before, so I'm going to be shot at the end of the Hikaru versus Urume. But I don't know. It's so crazy. I don't know. I'm still very, very iffy. I do want Hikaru though. If we're gonna cut away to anything in this chapter, please let it be Hikaru. The other thing I do want to touch on before I let y'all go, Yuta. He's been gone for a minute now. That boy's been in half a solid minute now. That boy's been. He does have a perfect chance to clutch up right now. Technically, him and Angel both. They could just hit this whole thing with James' ladder and shut it all down. It's not like Sukuna has the range to hit him. Well, he does. But still, I do think that could be the other thing that could happen. I can see hypothetical Return of the Blessed. Maybe no 6 Eyes. Yuji's Awakening didn't go as I thought it would. But, well, it went in a similar way, but not necessarily the exact same way. So, I do kind of want to see a Yuta Kotsu or an Angel Hanakudasu come in and cast a Jacob's Ladder on him, bro. That could go absolutely crazy. And you know what the thing is? You could really use Angel, or I guess Yuta, to like really tackle the whole idea of Sukuna being this sort of fallen deity archetype. Like, you could really go crazy with it. If you wanted to, you could truly and honestly go crazy with it. But regardless, AW chapter. I will go on longer in the thick review, because there still are a bunch of concepts introduced to and explained in the chapter that I do want to talk about more in depth. But I don't want to go too in depth here before I make more mistakes, once again due to a lack of translations. So I'd like to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave need a leg, as in like need a leg, in the comment section down below. I'd thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure the notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have another Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. He things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You'll also become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to this very chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 Patreon, $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below if you want to make a one-time video request or make a one-time donation to your boy. But now, thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Zach with the Pencil, writing off. I would like to give a thank you to all $3 members: O'Connor Plays, Greyhound, Atkins Void, Astro, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, G Prosper, and Paris Arnold. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Steron, Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, and Igneal. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $7 members: Autumn Mornings Lazo and Sick Addiction. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $10 member, Robbie Uchiha. And I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our $10 patrons: Panda Goat, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give a Giga Gargantuan scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patron, Chinadoll09. And I'd like to give another Giga Gargantuan Gargooglyunkus. I have no idea what that word was. Thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.